Hello everyone, welcome back to 10 Power 100 Karnataka. I am Tejas and I am back with another video which will help you for your quarterly exam that is happening today. So in my previous video, I have explained to you how the second PUC quarterly one examination for Bangalore North would essentially be. And I've also covered a few things that will help you succeed in the exams. Now this video is for the first PUC students who have come from grade 10. Right. So before I start the video, I just want to tell you a few things, right? So in grade 10, the way you are writing your answers will be slightly different from the way you will be expected to write your answers in first PUC. Grade 10 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು if you are studying in the Karnataka State Board, first language ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ second language ಆಗಿರಲಿ, most of the questions would be questions that you would be familiar with, right? So you would have 1 mark questions, you would have 2 mark questions, you would have reference to context, you will have 4 mark long answer questions and things like that. But in PUC, you have a different system of writing the answers, right? So that is what I'm going to slightly explain to you in this video, which will be helpful for all the new students who have come from grade 10, right? Similarly, those students who have come to PUC after doing maybe ICSE or CBSE, again, you would have very different structures of writing your examinations. So in this video, I'm trying to give you a few tips and suggestions in terms of how to write an answer, especially in literature, which will help you gain good marks in your quarterly. Like I've shared in the previous videos, quarterly exam is a very important exam for any student who is in the state, right, who is writing this examination. This is even more important for those subjects which do not have any form of a practical paper, right? For all the subjects that have an internal 20 marks, this is a very important exam because this will give you your internal marks as well. Now, just because you're in first PUC doesn't mean that you should be a little bit lazy or a little bit be like, you know what, I will try to do this later. Maintaining that consistency right from the beginning is very, very crucial. So I will be quickly helping you to do that in English for the exam that is happening tomorrow. So just very quickly, the different lessons that you have, again, you have around 2 poems and you have 3 lessons which you will be preparing for. You have Gentleman of the Jungle, which is a very simple story. Now in this story, there are different things, right? Number one, you need to know the theme of the story. It is about colonization. But the author actually writes it in the form of a fable, right? So you know the different characters, there are different animals in this. Each animal has different roles, okay? ನಿಮಗೆ ಆ ರೋಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು, 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಗೆ MCQs ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. So you should be able to very clearly remember who was the rhinoceros, who was the lion, all of those roles of the animals. ಅದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. And the events is very important for this. ಅಂದ್ರೆ what happened in the story? How did the story start? What was the grumble that was happening between the man and the animals? Then who came over there? How did they try to solve that particular issue? Then what happened? ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ವುಡ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ read the textbook once and make a note of all the order of events. First ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, next ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು. That will help you really understand this lesson very well. Okay. Since this is a prose, there is a possibility you will get 2 marks also, you might get 3 marks also, you might get 4 marks also. So knowing the lesson well will give you easy marks, right? Next is this poem, which is Schoolboy. This is very simple poem. This talks about the formal system of education and the informal system of education through imageries and things like that, right? So there's a boy who wakes up summer morning, why he likes to go to school, why doesn't he like to go to school, right? So all of these things are there in this poem, which is very simple. For both the poems, I would suggest, that is Money Madness also, just read the summaries of the poem and adjust your answers accordingly. Okay. The third and the fourth lesson are very fun lessons. It's interesting. There's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of interesting things. So it will be easy for you to remember the answers. So around the medicinal creeper alley, there are several events against children. So idralli there are many instances. Okay, an example of it is the Englishman. Mara's experience with the Englishman when he gets a cut because of the sharp sickle, alva. So our instance can be given for you for a long answer question. Similarly, the next incident can be the time when he goes hunting, right? The hunting plus the deer experience. That could be another experience. Then the teeth experience, which is a very popularly asked question. They ask a lot of times. The story that was the reason that happened because as a result of it, he lost all of his teeth on one side of his mouth, right? So that adar bagenu you should be knowing. Similarly, you have another story about Krishna and the Malayali sadhu. Okay, so this also is something that you can refer to. Apart from this lesson also has some important elements like superstitious beliefs. What is more important? India's Ayurvedic system, India's traditional system of curing medicines, of curing illnesses, the benefits of it. Other bagenu, they can ask you some theme-based questions, right? Now, at the same time, there are other instances also here, children. So you need to know about the pathologist, Chandru. What was he doing? The curdling of milk. Then there is an example of a cockle and mongoose. So there are so many small instances like this which you should remember for maybe 1 mark and 2 marks questions as well. Okay, but this lesson is very simple. I know I keep saying that a lot. This lesson is very simple. This lesson is very simple, but it is right. So that is something that you can keep in mind. Oru Manashil, I'm going to say my famous dialogue. It is also a simple lesson right now because this lesson is also humorous. Okay, so when it is humorous, you can easily relate to it and remember. Oru Manashanali, remember the first part, that is the description of the city. Okay, how was the city that the narrator was living in? His routine is also something that is very important for you to know. Where would he go to eat, at what time, how much money he had in his wallet, what was his routine like. So those questions also can be asked for maybe 2 marks or 3 marks. The entire episode that is there, the restaurant episode, the episode where he is humiliated or embarrassing moment, alva. So that is also a very what do you say, commonly asked question. Okay, and this, if you remember, like a story, he goes there, he eats his meal, then he gets the bill, he realizes that he had left the wallet. So then when he tries to tell this, the restaurant, the person who's serving him decides to threaten him, right? So he holds him by the collar, he says that he will gouge his eyes out, and things like that. Then afterwards, a lot of others also start humiliating him. Then they say that you have to undress. So he starts removing his clothes. And at one point of time, a stranger comes in and helps him. And then they go to the bridge. He realizes he gives the wallet back to the to the narrator, right? And eventually we got to know that the stranger who helped him in the restaurant was actually the person who saved him also. Rather, he was the person who stole the thing also, right? So this is something that I want all of you to remember as a story. So it's not very complicated, but it is not too easy also, because there are these keywords. Okay, in English, writing those keywords is very important. Like I said, holds by the collar, gouges eyes out. Then the amount of money that he was carrying in his wallet, the bill, all of those things have to be written in the right way. Okay, so Oru Manushan, I think these are the possible 3 questions that you will get. Apart from this, they also talk about the transformation that happens in a person, right? So in the end of the story, there is a transformation that has happened. Now, who was the character that had the transformation? Was it the thief? Was it the narrator? All of these things are some analytical questions that you might get. The last one is about money madness. In poem, the main thing that the poet is trying to say is that humans have to learn to come out of this madness, this delirium that they are all living in because of money itself, right? So that is the main theme, and they give very clear instances and examples in terms of what will happen if we don't adhere to it, right? So the way society looks at people when they don't have money, when they have money, that is what he is talking about. So if you look at it, it's not too difficult, it's not too simple also, right? So if you don't prepare and go tomorrow, it's not mandatory that you will write very good answers, right? So hence preparation is important, and my suggestions for preparation would definitely be to go through the stories at least once or twice so that you remember the keywords. And if you have notes, then that is also something that all of you can refer to. Okay, now grammar bandaga, you have 20 marks for grammar, right? So again, for the first PUC students, you have 20 marks for literature and 20 marks for grammar. It is equally broken down. So grammarly, you have these subtopics that are there. Again, like second PUC, reading comprehension might be the most the highest quantity of marks can come from reading comprehension. The rest of it could be all possible 1 mark questions or even 2 mark questions. Word order under, they'll give you a jumbled sentence and you are supposed to arrange it in the right word order, right? So that is the type of exercises. You can again refer to the question bank that is released by the board or even the workbook. So if you just try to solve some of these questions, I think you'll get a good understanding. Just this verb forms, Ali, remember when you have to use singular, when you have to use plural forms, that is something that you might have to be a little careful about. The more you practice from your workbook, I think you should be able to ace this, right? So last thing that I would suggest as some tips, right, before I move to the next section is literature. Literature bandaga, again I'm saying read the summaries of the poem. Okay, each poem has a good summary. If you Google it anywhere, you will find a good summary. If not, there are some very good notes online as well, which you can refer to. So read the summaries first for the poetry section. For the lessons, ensure that you are actually going through the textbook, at least these instances. In my video, I have already explained to you what are those instances, alva. So if you can go through those instances and that particular section properly, then that is a good enough preparation for you for literature. Okay. Right. So here I'm just showing you one sample answer and some key points, right? So this is from one of the toppers paper of the last year. As you can notice over here, the answer na heng baribeku another is very important, and that's the main part of this video for all of you children. So a lot of you come from 10th without knowing really in terms of how the answers need to be framed and how it needs to be written, right? So to help all of you, there's a small sample. This is of course from the second PUC board exam, so you will not probably know what is there over there. But if you look at it, you will be easily able to identify what are some of the key features of a good answer, right? So number one is keep the answers in small paragraphs. Like don't write like an essay. Okay, you need not write a huge essay for one page and say that that's your answer, right? So structure your answer in such a way that you are writing an introduction in the beginning, then your main answer comes, and then you have a conclusion in the end. Okay, so ee tara bardaga the evaluator knows that you know what you have written, and the skill of writing also comes out alive, right? So this is good writing. This is how an answer needs to be written. The second thing that I would keep in mind is spellings and grammar. If you read this answer, there is not a single spelling mistake, there is not a single grammatical error, right? So when you're writing English, it is important for you to write without a lot of grammatical and spelling errors, because those are the things that will give you easy marks. Okay, have a short introduction for all the answers. This again will enhance the value of your answer. Clear textual details. This is the most important thing, children. So when you are writing, you cannot write your own answers. Okay, yes, it is a story. Doesn't mean that you will write your own story in your own ways, however you want to write. If you use some 2-3 keywords, now use that is not a good answer, right? You have to use all the keywords that is there in the textbook and structure that answer in that particular manner itself. The next thing is neatness and cleanliness. This is crucial, right? When you look at a paper, that paper should look neat. If you look at this answer that is written, it looks neat. The handwriting is legible. There is clear spacing of the answers that is written by the child, and that will help you. That will help the evaluator know that you have put in effort to writing. At the same time, you can also see that keywords underline ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರು. This again ensures that the answer is presented in the best way possible. The last tip that I have for all of you is the overall language in the answer should be good. Okay, so don't try to use words that you don't know. You would have heard somewhere and you feel that I'll fit that in the answer. Avoid doing things like this. ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನು ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ಅದೇ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು write it in the correct manner. It's better to write correct simple sentences with correctness instead of writing wrong sentences with fancy words. That makes no sense, right? So keep your overall language as simple as possible. So I believe that these are some tips that will help you do well in your exam. The last slide that I have for all of you is about the paper pattern. Again, I'm saying that this is tentative. I'm not saying that this is the final paper pattern. So take it with a pinch of salt. In all possibilities, you might have 4 MCQs, you might have 3 questions of 2 marks. You have 2 questions of 3 marks, and you might have 1 question of 4 marks. Generally, this is the type of format that they follow, but of course, it is up to the examiner and the question paper setter. They can change it however they want to. Roughly, your 20 marks would be divided this way, right? And grammarly, 20 marks can be divided. Mostly, a large chunk of the marks might go for reading comprehension, and the rest of the topics might get 1 or 2 marks, right? So that's how your paper pattern could be. Remember, in your paper, there will be few instructions that will be given to you in the beginning, okay? MCQs na ಒಂದೇ order ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, or all the one word answers should be continuous. Scratching it once and rewriting the answer might result in 0 marks. ಆ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ instructions ಬರ್ದಿರ್ತಾರೆ question paper ನಲ್ಲಿ. So take a minute to go through the instructions that is there on the top of the question paper, which may also give you an understanding of what the expectation is. Okay, so that is pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to tell all of you. So for all those who will be writing your first English exam in the PU board. All the best for you tomorrow, and I hope this video is helpful for all of you in terms of giving you certain key points that you can keep in mind while you're preparing, and also when you're presenting your answers tomorrow. Yeah. So thank you so much. For more such videos and for more tips and suggestions about all the subjects that will help you, do follow 10 power 100 Karnataka and share this with anyone who's actually writing the examination tomorrow, so that will help them do well in their exams as well. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.